Cowboys Nation, it's that time again. Monday Night Football is around the corner, and the Dallas Cowboys are back under the lights, this time facing the Arizona Cardinals at AT&T Stadium. The energy is high, the pressure is real, and the stakes couldn't be bigger. Now, before we jump into what to expect from this matchup, let's talk about what's really been going on. Because honestly, things have been weird lately. The Cowboys just can't seem to turn effort into wins, and it's got the entire fan base scratching their heads. Every week it feels like something new goes wrong. A bad defensive showing here, an off night on offense there. But you know what? It's time for a reset. This game against Arizona might be exactly what the Cowboys need to find their rhythm again. Dallas comes into this one as a narrow favorite, just a couple of points ahead on the spread, which tells you Vegas doesn't exactly trust them right now. The Cardinals, even though they're coming off a bye, have been in a rough stretch. They haven't won in over a month, and their offense has been struggling to find consistency. But still, you can never count out a team that's desperate for a win, especially one led by a quarterback like Kyler Murray, who just seems to have a strange magic whenever he steps into AT&T Stadium. More on that later. The Cowboys situation is interesting. Statistically, they're one of the weirdest teams in the entire NFL this season. Their offense is top tier, top 2 in scoring, but their defense is near the bottom of the league. That's the total opposite of what anyone expected when the season began. Usually, Dallas is built around a strong defense and a balanced offense, but this year, it's flipped completely upside down. And here's a crazy fact. Every single NFL team ranked in the top 12 in points per game has a winning record, except for the Dallas Cowboys. That's how strange this season has been. Now, let's talk about the injuries, because those have played a massive role too. Jack Sanborn's groin issue popped up right before last week's game, and his availability remains up in the air. Donovan Wilson and Wayne Thomas both missed time as well, and that's been a real blow to the secondary. Wilson's elbow and shoulder have been limiting him, while Thomas has been dealing with migraines bad enough to mess with his vision, and that's not something you rush back from. Hopefully, he's getting the rest he needs. Elijah Clark's also looking doubtful, so safety depth is a concern heading into this matchup. On the bright side, Cooper Beebe might make his return from that ankle injury, which would give the offensive line a much-needed boost. Arizona, on the other hand, is slowly getting healthier. Kyler Murray should be back after missing the past couple of games, and that alone changes the entire dynamic of their offense. He's one of those players who can make something out of nothing, even when the play completely breaks down. They'll still be without some key names in the backfield, though. Amari Demercado and Bam Knight are expected to handle the majority of the carries, but Demercado's been questionable with a nagging issue, and depth could be thin if he can't go the full game. The Cardinals are also waiting to see if Garrett Williams and Walter Nolan can return from injury, though it might be too soon for them to make an impact this week. So, what's it going to take for Dallas to pull off a win here? First and foremost, the quarterback needs to bounce back. Dak Prescott had one of his roughest performances of the season in that last outing, and he knows it. There were missed reads, a few bad throws, and overall just not the level of composure we've seen from him most of the year. The thing is, Dak's been excellent for most of the season, arguably top 5 in quarterback play across the league, but that last game left a sour taste. Against Arizona, he's got a golden opportunity to silence some of the critics and prove that one-off night doesn't define him. But it can't just be Dak. The defense has to show up, and that's been the biggest issue all year. Right now, Dallas ranks near the bottom in almost every defensive category that matters. They're among the worst in points allowed, yards per play, third down defense, and passing yards surrendered. It's been ugly, no sugarcoating it. There have been flashes here and there, but nothing consistent enough to build momentum. You can't win in this league if your defense can't get off the field. It's as simple as that. Now, when you look at the Cardinals' offense, they're not exactly lighting up scoreboards either. They sit somewhere around the middle of the pack in most stats, but they've actually been surprisingly good on third downs. That's been their saving grace. They're not great on early downs, but they manage to stay alive with clutch conversions when it matters most. The Cowboys need to break that rhythm early, get them behind the sticks, make Kyler uncomfortable, and force them to play from behind. Speaking of Kyler Murray, there's something about this guy in AT&T Stadium. He has literally never lost a game there. Not in high school, not in college, not in the NFL. It's wild. Every single time he steps onto that field, he finds a way to win. Maybe it's the hometown factor, maybe it's just coincidence, but it's become a real storyline. If you're Dallas, you cannot let that streak continue. Kyler has a lot of talent, no doubt, but he's been inconsistent throughout his career. Outside of a short stretch a few seasons back, he hasn't exactly lived up to the expectations that come with being a #1 overall pick. Still, when he's on, he can torch defenses with his legs and his arm, so the Cowboys can't afford to take him lightly. That brings us to one of the most important parts of this matchup, the running game. Dallas has to be better on both sides of it. On offense, the Cowboys have been solid, but not dominant. They're around the middle of the league in rushing yards, but when they do run, they're efficient. They just don't do it enough. The passing attack has carried the load, and that's fine when it's working, but you can't be one-dimensional in this league for long. The run game helps set the tone, it opens up play action, and it keeps defenses guessing. Javonte Williams has been one of the bright spots there, breaking tackles and keeping plays alive. Defensively, though, the Cowboys' run defense has been a real concern. They're giving up way too many big runs and ranking near the bottom in almost every major run defense category. Missed tackles, poor gap discipline, and inconsistent linebacker play have been the main culprits. You can't let Arizona control the tempo by pounding the football, especially when their passing game isn't elite. If Dallas can tighten up front, if guys like Kenny Clark can step up and the linebackers can clean up their tackling, that'll make a huge difference. The thing about Arizona's running game is that it's not what it used to be. Last season, they were among the best in the league at running the ball, but injuries and roster changes have really slowed them down. They're hovering around the bottom half of the league now, and without their top backfield options, they've lost a lot of their explosiveness. That should play to Dallas's advantage if the Cowboys don't beat themselves. So, what kind of game are we expecting? Probably a close one. Both teams have had their share of ups and downs this season, and both have struggled to close out tight games. Dallas has only won 2 of its one-score games so far, while Arizona has lived in that world all season long. Every game they play seems to come down to the wire. For the Cowboys, this is the kind of game where they just have to find a way to finish. It doesn't need to be pretty, it doesn't need to be dominant, but it has to be complete. No collapses, no mental mistakes, no self-inflicted wounds. Just 4 quarters of solid football. When you look deeper into this matchup, the real story is about identity. What kind of team are the Dallas Cowboys right now? Are they the explosive, high-powered offense that can light up the scoreboard on any given night? Or are they the inconsistent group that disappears for stretches, letting games slip away in frustrating fashion? Monday night's clash with the Cardinals is about proving which version is real. Every team hits bumps during a season, but great ones find a way to respond. This is Dallas's chance to respond. Let's start with the man under center, because all eyes will be on Dak Prescott. He's had a roller coaster season, brilliant in stretches, shaky in others. The confidence, the command, it's all still there, but lately the execution hasn't matched the talent. There were some uncharacteristic mistakes last week, some miscommunication with receivers, and just a general lack of rhythm. But Dak's always been a quarterback who thrives on adversity. When a noise gets louder, that's usually when he plays his best football. And that's what Dallas needs now. A composed, confident leader who can guide this offense through the chaos. If there's one silver lining in the offensive struggles, it's that the core group of skill players has stayed healthy. CeeDee Lamb continues to play at an elite level, one of the few receivers in the league who can completely change a game by himself. Jake Ferguson has been a reliable target across the middle, and Brandon Cooks adds that vertical element that forces defenses to stay honest. The key is getting everyone involved early. When the ball spreads around, the Cowboys are nearly impossible to stop. But when the offense stalls and becomes predictable, defenses tee off. Balance is everything. The offensive line also deserves some credit for holding things together despite injuries. Cooper Beebe's potential return could stabilize the interior, giving Dak more time to work through his reads. Pass protection hasn't been the biggest issue. It's been consistency in the run blocking. Dallas doesn't need to turn into a run-first team, but establishing the ground game keeps defenses from dropping 7 or 8 into coverage every snap. Tony Pollard's explosiveness can change a drive in an instant, but he needs lanes to work with. That comes down to the guys up front winning their matchups. Defensively, it's all about pride. This unit was supposed to be the foundation of the team, the group that set the tone every week. Instead, it's been a constant source of frustration. Missed tackles, blown coverages, no pressure at key moments. Things that used to define Dallas in a positive way have now become weaknesses. The Cowboys have the talent to turn around. Micah Parsons remains one of the most disruptive players in football, but even he can't do it alone. The defensive line needs to be more disciplined against the run, staying in their gaps and not over-pursuing. The linebackers, meanwhile, have to play smarter. Too many times this season, they've been caught out of position or late to react. The secondary has also been up and down, though injuries haven't helped. Donovan Wilson's absence has left a noticeable gap in communication, and without that veteran presence, younger players have been forced to take on bigger roles. Against a mobile quarterback like Kyler Murray, discipline in the secondary is everything. Murray has a knack for extending plays, forcing defenders to cover longer than they want to. That's where breakdowns happen. The key will be keeping him contained, forcing him to win from the pocket rather than allowing him to create chaos outside of it. And speaking of Kyler Murray, let's be real, he's been a puzzle for the Cowboys for years. There's just something about this stadium that brings out the best in him. Every time he steps on that field, he plays like he's got something to prove. But that's exactly the kind of challenge Dallas needs right now. Beating Murray in their own building would not only end his undefeated streak there, but also send a message to the rest of the league that the Cowboys are not the same inconsistent team people think they are. Now, if you look at Arizona as a whole, they're a team in transition. They've been competitive in a lot of games, but can't seem to close them out. Their record doesn't reflect the effort they've shown, but at the end of the day, effort doesn't win games in the NFL. Execution does. Their offense relies heavily on short passes, quick reads, and timing routes, and when that rhythm is disrupted, things fall apart quickly. The Cowboys' defense needs to attack that. Press the receivers, bring pressure, and make Kyler uncomfortable. Don't let him get into a groove. The Cardinals' defense, on the other hand, is quietly decent but far from elite. They're average against the run and can be exploited in the secondary if the protection holds up. That's where Dak can really take over. Expect him to look for those deep crossers and seam routes that put stress on Arizona's linebackers and safeties. If Dallas can get their play-action game working, it'll open everything up. But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. In a surprising twist that has sent shockwaves through the NFL world, legendary wide receiver Jerry Rice has reportedly made a statement regarding the Dallas Cowboys that has left fans and analysts buzzing. Known for his candid insights and unfiltered opinions, Rice has long been considered the gold standard for evaluating talent and team dynamics in professional football. However, what he allegedly said about the Cowboys has stirred an unprecedented level of speculation. According to insiders who claim to have been present during the conversation, Rice hinted at dissatisfaction with the team's current trajectory, suggesting that the Cowboys are missing the spark that once made them a perennial powerhouse. While Rice stopped short of publicly criticizing individual players or coaches, sources suggest he implied that significant changes may be necessary if the team wants to return to its former glory. The comments, if accurate, would mark one of the rare occasions that a legend of Rice's stature has openly questioned the direction of a franchise as high-profile as Dallas. The timing of the remarks only adds fuel to the fire, coming just as the Cowboys are entering a crucial stretch of their season. Any perceived skepticism from a figure of Rice's authority could reverberate through the locker room and fan base alike. Sports analysts are already speculating about the potential impact on team morale, roster decisions, and even the future of the coaching staff. While some see Rice's comments as a wake-up call, others worry that such a public stir could create unnecessary distractions at a pivotal moment. As social media erupts with debates and theories, one thing is clear. Rice's words, whether fully intended as criticism or simply an observation, have reignited conversations about the Cowboys' identity, leadership, and championship aspirations. For a franchise with a storied history and loyal following, the stakes are high, and the rumor mill is only gaining momentum. Fans are left wondering whether this is the start of a transformative era or just another chapter in the ongoing saga of Dallas Cowboys drama. Only time will tell how the team responds. But for now, Jerry Rice's shockwave has the NFL world talking, and the Cowboys' next moves are under a microscope like never before. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.